Welcome into today's first pitch. It's June 12th. He's Dave Cokin. I am Drew Martin. We were going without the Prez, but the show must go on. Dave, welcome in. How are you doing this morning?
I'm ready for a good day of action. There's one game already underway. The Oakland-Tampa game was an early start. A couple other day games today. But we've still got plenty of action tonight to look at.
We do, and we're going to break down all the 7 o'clock Eastern games and beyond here, and we'll start off right at the top of the card. Go down the list here. We got Arizona and Philadelphia up first, Dave. Looks like Kelly on the hill for Arizona, Eflin on the hill for Philadelphia, and minus 136 to minus 142, depending where you're shopping for the home team, Philadelphia Phillies. And total of 9 in this one. Dave, where are you looking to go D-backs Phillies tonight?
Yeah, Merrill Kelly's off a couple of good starts for the Diamondbacks. He had been struggling some before that, but came through with 2 good outings, so he's got some positive momentum coming in. But boy, Erlin has got some scary good numbers at home. The analytics aren't as strong, but old school. You look at that ERA at home; it's 2, which is pretty impressive. I would probably look at the Phillies side here. I think it may be a little bit underpriced at this number. So slight value to the Phillies.
Slight value, okay. And Eflin's 6-1, his last 7 at home. I thought that was pretty impressive, splits-wise, home road splits-wise. Also wanted to bring up a kind of something I like to find. I know you've been in the business, very successful for a long time, Dave. And finding change is one of the best ways, I think, to win in sports betting. And when you look at Kelly, the pitcher for Arizona, a 30-year-old rookie, just 6-6, 4 ER. 4 ERA, excuse me. He's kind of goes, unnoticed, so to speak, just kind of middle of the road pitcher. But he found a cutter, and I read an article, he found this cutter, and his last 14 innings, he's only let up 2 earned runs. So we kind of find that change with him. Do you almost think with that added cutter, he already had the curveball and the fastball, that third pitch at the MLB level really helps some of these starting pitchers. You think that could be a bet-on trend going forward?
For a little bit, it could. I think a good example of that this year was Martin Perez of the Twins, who added a pitch and it really changed his arsenal. Mm-hmm. But you've seen what's happened, which is that eventually you'll get these short spurts, if you will, but eventually the pitchers start to return to their level anyway, and that's what's happened to Martin Perez. So this might be a little bit of a temporary spike with Merrill Kelly, but I would expect him to probably return to his level at some point. However, you can make some money betting on him in the meantime.
Yeah, makes sense. And that's the way I was looking. I was looking towards the dog here with Kelly. Again, 30-year-old rookie found that extra pitch. I think there's some little bit of value here on the dog. We got a AL East matchup up next, Dave. Toronto at Baltimore. Edwin Jackson versus David Hess. Pretty much pick 'em price. Now up to about as high as minus 115 for the home team Orioles. We got a total of 10.5. High total here, Dave. What are you looking to do in the AL East tonight?
Well, I mean, you can't play under. At least I can with these 2 pitchers on the mound. I mean, you talk about a pairing of 2 pitchers in unbelievably bad form. This would be it. But it's also 10.5. And if you look at the recency offensive stats, well, Toronto's not hitting anybody. The Orioles aren't hitting righties. And if you watched last night's game, it was pretty much a study of offensive ineptitude. So even with Jackson and Hess on the mound, I have trouble making a case for the over here. But there's no possibility I can play the under with those 2 pitchers on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, both lineups have really been struggling. Bottom 5 in MLB, I believe, the last 2 weeks. What about the fact, David Hess, it was early in the season, but he had a no-hit bid against this Toronto lineup. Do you factor that in at all?
No.
Just too much time away? Or
it's just he had a good game. Anybody has a good game every once in a while. Hess is awful, and Edwin Jackson is beyond awful. So, no, I mean, you can't find a worse pitching matchup than this.
Yeah, it's pretty bad as far as even the advanced metrics pointing towards both pitchers not being very good. He's Dave Cokin on Twitter at Dave Cokin. At WagerTalk, he's got a 4%er up and available today. Also at sportsmemo.com, guys, it's $2 Wednesday due to technical difficulties yesterday. We are testing out this new server at sportsmemo.com, so every play is discounted to just $2. Slate of handicappers in with plays. We got 5%ers up, CFL, MLB, all sorts of things. Oh, 5%er in NHL as well. So check it out at sportsmemo.com. All plays discounted to just $2 for Wednesday's card. Next game up, 7:10 Eastern, 4:10 Pacific here, Dave. St. Louis Cardinals, Miami Marlins. Marlins kind of in free fall here, Dave. They were the most profitable team in baseball not too long ago for a short stint. Now their lineup's gone ice cold. We're seeing a total of 8 in South Florida, minus 180 for the away team Cardinals. What are you thinking here?
Well, you've got a first-time starter debuting in the majors here, Jordan Yamamoto. Will make the start for Miami. Good prospect. He's a mid-level Miami prospect. Looks like a smart pitcher. I don't think he's got overwhelming stuff, but nobody's seen him before. He is jumping up from Double-A, but there's reason to see him doing reasonably well here. He's facing a tough lineup, but the Cardinals are playing bad baseball right now. I mean, they're finally back over 500 again, thanks to being able to play the Marlins a couple of times, but kind of tough to hitch your wagon to Miles Michaelis. At this point, he is really struggling, and those home road splits for Michaelis they're extreme. He's been good at home. He has been really bad on the road. I like first-time starters. I think there's often some value to be had with them. It's a gamble playing on the Marlins right now because they're not playing good baseball and they're not hitting much. But maybe Michaelis is the type of pitcher that can warm him up as he's struggled on the road, and he's a pitch-to-contact guy. So if some of that contact finds some holes, Marlins might be able to pull an upset here. I would look at the Miami side in this game.
And Dave, you bring up the fact that you look to bet on first-time pitchers. Is that the first time they're pitching in the major leagues? You're actually kind of looking to be a buy-on in that case?
Yeah, it does pretty well because you're often getting a price because nobody knows who they are.
Right.
But you're also getting the advantage of a pitcher throwing at hitters who've never seen him before. Mm-hmm. And that is an advantage for the pitchers. There's negatives you can find here up and down the Miami side of things. Their bullpen stinks. They're not hitting. But, that's you're not going to find everything in your favor when you're taking a plus 160 underdog. That's the idea. You're going to have to put up with some negatives to feel good about taking the plus 160. But I would do it here.
Yeah, I like that look as well. I mean, back in first-time pitchers making the jump up. I mean, in most case scenarios, they're making the jump up for a reason. They are showing talent at some level below, and like Dave says, the opposing lineup likely hasn't seen him much, so it could be an advantage there as well. Moving to
seen him at all.
Yeah. I mean, well, possibly in the minors.
Get some minor league tape on him, but that's about it.
Right. No, good point. We got Pittsburgh, Atlanta up next, total of 9. Soroka on the hill for the Braves, of course, commanding a high price here, Dave. The Canadian commanding minus 215 right now. SunTrust is way more of a hitter's park there in Atlanta than the old Turner Field was. But with him on the hill, this total at 9, I think that's about right. Are you interested in laying a big number here?
No, I won't lay a price that big, but I'd only have interest in the Braves. The Pirates are going in the wrong direction in a big way. They look like a troubled team right now. Mitch Keller makes his second start. His first one was a disaster. He is a talented young guy who the Pirates hope takes over as their number one starter down the road. But Mike Soroka is just pitching amazing baseball for the Braves. He's had 10 starts. They've all been plus starts on the game score system. And the Braves playing good ball right now. They've moved into first place, or tied for first place with the Phillies in the NL East, playing with a lot of confidence right now. If you're going to do something here, it would have to be Braves, but I'm not a runs line guy, especially with home teams, and I'm not a minus 210 guy for the most part, although you can build an argument that Atlanta, even at this price, is probably the right side.
Yeah, that's the way I was looking at it too, laying it with the favorite. Also, what do you think about the total? I said that the number was about right, just because of contrasting arguments for both sides of this total that I found. There's 32 runs in this series already, Pittsburgh with 12, Atlanta with 20. So for whatever reason, these lineups are seeing it well in the last 2 games. But the home plate umpire, Scott Berry, 7 of his last 11 have finished under the total. You put any more credence in one of those stats than the other, Dave?
Not really, but I would have trouble playing it over in any game that Mike Soroka is involved in right now, because the Braves are going to have to do a lot of scoring. So to me, I mean, if you like the over in this game, you may as well bet the Braves with it, because they're the ones who would have to get you there.
That makes sense. Yeah, there might be some correlation there in Braves and over. Again, Braves up to minus 220 right now at some shops, but minus 215 seems to be the prevailing angle. We got Seattle, Minnesota, Berrios on the hill for Minnesota. Seattle, are you seeing a listed pitcher as of right now, Dave?
No, Malone will be the follower.
Okay.
They're going to go with an opener. And we are seeing, I'm seeing some books now posting any pitcher.
Interesting.
Which is going to have to be, this is going to have to be something they start doing. And I know one of the books in town has gone that route today, and I don't know about the others yet. When it comes out, it'll probably be about 225, with the Barrios obviously the favorite in the game against the Mariners. And if you want to go bet Seattle, go ahead. Not with my money.
No, terrible defensive team. We've talked about it multiple times on this show. Dave, what about handicapping odds-making question for you with the opener becoming kind of a thing here with MLB? Do you think most sports books are going to go to that angle and just be any pitcher?
They're going to have to. It's either that or they're going to have refunds. They've got to, for totals especially, because you can play action on sides, but you can't on totals. So they're going to have to come up with a different configuration, which involves any pitcher. There's either that or they're going to have to keep giving money back on the totals, and nobody's happy about that. The house doesn't want to do it. The bettors don't want it. So they'll have to make a change here.
Yeah, it's an interesting aspect in MLB handicapping of late. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I agree with you. They're just going to have to go with any pitcher more so than not. But we got Milwaukee, Houston up next, Woodruff versus Verlander. Looks like Verlander around minus 130 price tag as the favorite, 7.5 being the total. What are you thinking here, Brewers, Astros?
That's going to attract some action. And it looks like the sharp market might have stepped in a little bit on Milwaukee here. This line opened 150 and has come down to I'm seeing 128, 131. The sharper houses are lower on the game than the square houses. I'm seeing like a 128 at a couple of sharp houses, 135 at a more square house. So look, this is one where you can assess that the sharp market is on Milwaukee, but I'm not going against Verlander. But basically comes down to that. I mean, he's a quality start every time out, and you've got to get a really good pitching performance the other way. Now, Milwaukee might get it from Woodruff here. So I'm not going to run to the favorite either. The total at Houston, a 7.5 total, is extremely low, and the under is slightly juiced on top of that. So I don't think that just doesn't make sense to bet that to me, because you're getting the worst of it. It's going to be a pass for me. Best game on the board tonight, but it doesn't mean that it's one I'm going to bet.
I agree with you. Fascinating matchup here, plus the NL AL matchup on ESPN. It looks like 8:10 Eastern start. I agree with you. What Verlander's been able to do on the latter half of his career is pretty amazing. But Houston a little bit banged up right now. Are they necessarily a bet on in the near future for you?
Well, no. I mean, it's tough to bet on Houston because you're always laying a big price, especially once they get their guys back. But I mean, they're 46-22, so. They just keep winning anyway. It's really tough to make a case to go against them. But the Brewers tonight might have a chance. It is a short-handed Houston lineup. Woodruff has been very good. He had that one bad start, but outside of that, he's been dynamite. And I don't think it's fluky. I mean, his metrics are really solid. So this guy looks like he's arrived as a quality big league pitcher. Yeah.
I agree with you. He has looked good out the gate. And also another handicapping question for you. You bring up the fact the sharper books are a little bit lower and the kind of more square books are a little higher. With the sharper and square books, which books are you talking about?
Oh, I don't like to mention names.
Okay.
So, no, I'm serious. Bettors will have to figure that out themselves. Okay? Because I don't – that's something we keep – I keep – it's not that I'm keeping it a secret, but I'm not here to endorse or plug any books as being sharper than the others. I'm not if they want to pay me to promote them, fine, I'll do that. But otherwise, I don't mention the books, but I retain the information.
Interesting. Okay. I respect that. Detroit, Kansas City up next. Daniel Norris versus Duffy, both left-handed pitchers here. 8.5 being the total. Looks like Kansas City minus 140 home favorite here, Dave. Two southpaws on the hill. What are you thinking of this AL matchup?
It's one of those games where you look at the line and say, well, how can the Royals be favored by that much over anybody? And I can't disagree with that. And then you look at the other side and you say, do I really want the Tigers and Daniel Norris? That's right. I'm agreeing with your shaking of the head. I pretty much just crossed this game off immediately. The Tigers got another performance, really good one from one of their outstanding young starters last night, Spencer Turnbull, and then the bullpen came in and blew the game. Now, the Royals bullpen is entirely capable of doing the same thing on any night. There might be spots where I take the Tigers at a big price, but it's not big enough here. And I just can't see myself laying a price with the 21-45 Royals. I mean, I know if you're into the fishy line configurations, you probably are looking at this saying, well, the Royals must be the right side. Why else would they put up a number this big on them?
Right.
But I don't. That's just not the way I handicap baseball, so I'm staying far away.
Yeah, laying numbers with bad teams is a tough proposition for me as well. I'm not going to get there with the Royals. Last game on the board, nightcap, so to speak, Dave. We got the San Diego Padres versus San Francisco Giants. NL West action, Lucchesi versus Anderson. Looks like minus 133, the Pods now on the road, 7.5. Money coming in on the Pods of late. And I think a lot of it has to do with the handedness of the pitcher and how much the Giants struggle against lefties. Worst hitting team in the league against lefties.
Terrible.
Yeah, what are you thinking here, Dave? I think the Pods are the side.
But interestingly enough, we're seeing action now on San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
As this number opened 144 in that range, and it's now in the 130 area. So there is some money on San Francisco, and part of it is the Padres are not playing very well. And their bullpen has suddenly become shaky. This was one of the few teams in baseball where it's like, okay, well, a lot of bad bullpens out there this year, but the Padres have been pretty reliable. So last night, of course, the Padres bullpen blows the game. You're hoping to get to Tyler Yates. They never got there. And Wingenter came in the seventh and just fell apart, gave up 3 runs, his worst outing as a major leaguer. Burned me because I had the Padres last night, was feeling pretty good about that ball game and didn't get there. I think San Diego's the right side, but I'm not wild about laying the price, and the Giants did manage to find a way to get a win last night. Anderson is a passably good rookie. He's had some problems in first innings. Mm-hmm. Like last start, he gave up 2 homers. Then he really settled down after that. Tough game. I couldn't really come up with a side.
In Dave, you bring up the bullpen for the Pods. In your numbers or your estimation, how good is this bullpen? Because I've made the argument they're pretty good.
How good is any bullpen? It's become the least predictable variable in baseball. There's just no way to handicap bullpens. You can't do it. All you can do is look at the overall numbers and say, okay, well, what I'm doing is I'm trying to go with recency numbers because there's no reliability, so I may as well go with like the last 10 days. And over the last 10 days, the Giants' bullpen has actually been better than the Padres' bullpen. San Diego's bullpen was considered a strength. It's been a liability of late. Stammen had the disaster the other day where he gave up 4 home runs. He had another melt last night. If you're going to put any stock into bullpens, I think you've got to go the recency mode, and that's it. Just forget the overall stats because they're just not going to tell you anything. I mean, it is an epidemic of bullpenitis out there.
It's a tough thing to handicap in baseball.
Man, it is. It's really tough.
He is Dave Cokin, at Dave Cokin on Twitter. Guys, he's got a 4%er up at WagerTalk.com. Check it out. I am Drew Martin, at Drew Martin Bets on Twitter. $2 Wednesday. I believe it's the first time we're doing it at SportsMemo.com. Due to the technical difficulties yesterday, all plays discounted to just $2 at the website. Check it out. Dave, is there anything else you want to throw out there to the watchers before we shut this down?
I'm going to post some CFL probably later tonight, later this afternoon, this evening. I'm still finalizing my plays. Probably going to have 1 or 2 plays this week. My track record in the CFL is I usually get out of the gate really fast, and then I'll level off around week 7 or week 8, and I'll actually start to cut back and eventually close it down. But early on, I've done really good, or really well, I should say, in the CFL, so hopefully get off to another good start this season.
Hey, in your opinion, is the CFL one of the most beatable markets in all of sports
Well,
betting?
it is for me. It all depends on the individual. Some people will tell you the WNBA is. I don't do the WNBA, so I can't tell you. But I do like the CFL. I think there's, it's a power rating line that's made, and I think the sharper market is able to get around those power ratings and find matchup advantages early on, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've heard that from a lot of guys, and I'm interested. You know, it's always great to have football. It's kind of like a little appetizer before college football in the NFL, right?
No, it's not an appetizer. It's if I bet one unit on something, it's not an appetizer. That's a main course. So I don't care what the sport is. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm just interested in trying to win a bet, and I think the CFL is one of the ways I can win bets early on.
Good stuff, Dave. Always good talking with you, man. Do you know the schedule going forward with First Pitch? Are you on tomorrow?
I'm on every day,
okay,
except the weekends, obviously.
Okay, so you'll be doing the show tomorrow with Prez?
Prez is definitely not doing the shows the next few days.
Okay.
So I don't know who's doing it tomorrow.
I will not be doing it
check with him.
Okay, I will not be doing it tomorrow, guys, but I believe there will be a show. If not, I will be back on with Dave Monday and Tuesday of next week because Prez is out. But for tomorrow's show, it will the other co-host will be to be determined with Dave Cokin. But either way, guys, appreciate you tuning in for the last 21 minutes. Hopefully, we got you on some right sides. For Dave Cokin, I'm Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets.